Do you want to open the meeting, Joyce?
Sure. What do I need to
It's,
do?
Say welcome, say the date.
give me the date, the time, and what meeting this is.
All right, it's Monday, March 18th, 2024 at 5:05 p.m. Ridgway Sustainability Advisory Board meeting.
I'm gonna do a roll call. Joyce,
Here.
Dana,
Here.
JT,
Yes, I'm here.
and David.
I'm here.
Okay, and as of right now, Angela and Ken are absent. I have not heard from Ken. I think Angela's gonna be here, though.
Yes, Angela's coming. Sorry.
Oh, there she is. Angela
Speaking of
is here.
person. Last minute, unexpected.
Dave, can you say your name out loud? Your last
Yeah,
name?
it's Dave Kmeyer.
Hey, Meyer.
Yeah.
Here.
It doesn't sound like it's spelled, but it's a good German name.
I thought I'd ask before I butchered it.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, that's
I
good.
butchered it at the town meeting. At the town council meeting. Angela Haas, this is David.
Hi, David.
Hi,
Kim.
Angela. Nice to meet you.
Meet you virtually.
Yeah.
Okay. So we can go ahead and get started then.
Great. Okay, so first item was the Green Street Park Master Plan. So last time that we all talked, they had put the RFP out, they've selected a consultant. And I don't know if you have the dates, but at some point that they're gonna come talk to us about what we are hoping to see. This list right here is what Preston kind of listed based on kind of conversations with us and multiple other entities. And so kind of the big thing that we want to talk about is what items on this list do we want to prioritize and make sure we're on the same page? Or are there other items on here that you would like to see? Because I just want to make sure that when they meet with us, that we kind of are all on the same page and can say like, all right, we really want to see the solar garden microgrid because that's the critical item for us, but we also want EVs and to make sure there's a tree visual sound buffer and landscaping that promotes water conservation.
So just very quickly, I want to lead it. Wednesday, Preston and I are meeting with the design team. So after that meeting, I'll have dates.
Okay.
Yeah,
Meeting with Stacy.
Yeah,
and
yeah. So it's a staff meeting
Okay.
with them. And then once that's completed, we'll set a schedule for the different meetings with the stakeholders and then set the dates for the public meetings and so forth.
Okay.
Who are they?
What's that?
Who are they?
Super Bloom?
Did they do the athletic park?
No, they are actually, JT was at that meeting. Could you give a little heads up on that?
And I brought Super Bloom to the table for this one, to get them to support her RFP. Natalie, and then Natalie Pettyjohn lives in in Grand Junction now. She's gonna be the Western Slope Point person for them. Super Bloom is based on the Front Range. To go onto their website and actually, it probably would be helpful for all of us to see their proposal.
I
that
can
was
I can
selected.
send that to you all. JT, can you speak up just a little bit? We're having a hard time hearing these recordings.
Oh,
Yeah,
I was gonna say, I thought I was projecting pretty well.
no, I've noticed that on the recordings, I'm not able to hear you very well.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so Super Bloom out of the Front Range, I'd say look at their website, but also we'll get the RFP that they submitted, and they're very sustainability focused. They've done some pretty impressive projects at many scales. And then Natalie, who works independently as well with her own company called Planterra in Grand Junction. She comes from a very integrated holistic approach, even permaculture integrated into it. So she was able to, and she's a one-person team these days, but she was able to collaborate with Super Bloom and put together this RFP.
Right.
What's RFP mean?
Request for,
Request for.
Request for proposals. We put out the RFP, they provided
didn't know.
proposals to the town.
Just want to know what that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Super. Acronym.
So yeah,
Right
it-
person for the job. Yeah, awesome, good work.
and we had all, well, and I didn't have any, I mean, I was on the selection committee, but it was just Preston, myself and Terry. And from a very objective view, given the three main.
John was also part of that, wasn't
He didn't, well, he chimed in on a bit, but we all collectively out of the gate, based upon the proposals, all unanimously
Selected that.
selected them, not without any bias, even if I wasn't there,
Mhm.
everybody else would have selected them.
And they've done master planning with communities.
Oh, yeah, and they're much like the way DHM from Durango comes in and does community development and gets the pulse of everything and everybody wants. But I would say that Super Bloom, as you can probably run with their name, get a sense of their sensibility.
They put a very nice proposal together, really focusing on the things that, sustainability.
Super.
Yeah.
And not just in, as a paper tiger, but
Right.
as in practice. They're more innovative than anybody in the state, I think.
Do they have experience with integrating microgrids or any of that? In their-
They've certainly dealt with energy issues, especially in the city of Aurora. Aurora is actually, believe it or not, now the most xeriscape and water conservation focused and energy focused city in the state. You wouldn't know it because it looks so blank there, but that's because they actually pared back all of their grass and their trees and focused in on their limited amount of water. In terms of the microgrids themselves, they've worked in situations where there's public-private partnerships on energy. And so they're very attuned to it, they're very articulated in it. But in terms of this kind of hybrid system that San Miguel Power, Terry Schuyler have put together, where there's a combination of PV coming in from both from the county land and from this potential town land. They have certainly worked with integrating pavilions, rooftops, and they were very familiar with agrivoltaics as well. Whether that has footing in this project or not, will be based upon the values of the town.
Are they more or less than the general contractor on this, and they'll be managing San Miguel, or will they just be partnering with San Miguel on the microgrid part of it?
So,
Debbie,
Can
I
I
can probably
answer
answer the
that? Yeah.
interface better.
so, basically what this company is doing is they're doing a master plan. It's really a kind of, if you will, a general layout of what the town would like to see. They will not be participating in the actual construction. They're just taking the information and putting it all together in a format that when we do get the funding and decide to move forward with whatever concept it is,
Okay,
that will all be put together.
okay, yeah, that's my mistake. I didn't
Yeah.
realize.
And they'll provide like renderings and all
They'll,
of that,
they'll
so.
provide renderings and they will, but the thing about a master plan is a guiding document. So if, when the time comes, we do get the funding to move forward, things can change. It's not like it's written in stone that this master plan cannot change. The phases can be changed, that things can be changed. It's really a guiding document. Right?
What was I gonna say? One thing for everybody and also for you, Dave, just to bring up the speed. All of the renderings that have been shared already through Terry Schuyler, most of those, and including 3D and aerials, have been done by a subcontractor, which was paid for by San Miguel Power. And those are going to be, that he's gotten permission on the licensing to be able to share those.
But the
So,
only people that have seen that is this board. Nobody else has seen that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and actually, I haven't seen those. I went back and looked at the original plan. There's on the, it's referred to in the
Yeah,
RFP, and so I saw the original plan, which looks like it's changed quite a lot since
yeah,
that.
yes,
You should look at the town's master plan back 20 years ago,
Yeah.
what changed.
yeah.
Okay,
So,
Numbers.
yeah, that's sort of the, and I can get those, I have those emails I can share with you that have those, San Miguel Power, drawings.
yeah, that'd be nice because that's kind of a hole for me. I hadn't seen any of that.
Yeah, that is not, that was just a concept. Nothing has been, again, this process is where stakeholders are contacted. So that would be the SAB, that would be the apiary, that would be the community garden, and then of course the neighbors, anybody else in town who wants to come to the public meetings. We have a lot of turnout in these meetings. So what is proposed through these different stakeholders does not necessarily mean that's what's going to happen. It's
Right.
just, a concept, and then it kind of goes through this process of several meetings, and changes will be made and things will be added and taken off. So yeah, it's just sort of the starting point is where we're at right now.
We go back to Joyce's ask, what, off of this list, is there anything else we'd like to see?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like, so I don't know if we'll really get everything on the list, but kind of if you talk about, if they come in and ask, like, what are your priorities for what would make the Sustainability Advisory Board happy to see? And like, me looking at this personally, I might say, okay, obviously the solar garden microgrid is a must, like that's the whole point of this park. And so, and then to get community, I guess, like buy-in and mostly for us to likely get it passed, then we probably will want landscaping that promotes water conservation, but that can be integrated into, the visual and sound buffers, right? Because like the evergreen tree visual and sound buffer, we can ideally use landscaping that's low water usage that acts as our visual and sound buffer. And then to make it a nice spot, it would probably be great to have the picnic pavilions and either the perimeter trail and the circuit trail. And, so maybe I don't have every single thing, but at a minimum, like those are the things that I would like to see and would probably appease the community in a way that it would likely be approved. And that's just the way I'm thinking about it. But you guys might be looking at it and saying, well, I think,
Can we go around and
Yeah, I think
we do that?
yeah.
Comments on it?
Yeah, that's
I
essentially
asked-
what this agenda item is
Okay.
is for us to kind of talk about what do we
Okay.
are visualize.
Get to it.
Why don't you kick us off?
Okay, what's the idea for the interpretive trail? What's the vision on what are we what's the interpretation that we're putting on that trail?
Yeah, that's not defined.
Okay, all
Uh,
right, so we just.
so we could define it if,
No, and the community input sessions are also good places.
That would be a good idea.
Yeah, because that's what we want is to get buy-in. People
Okay.
feel like it's theirs and their idea
Yeah,
rather than
okay.
building it all out.
So, yeah, and the way that it'll work is they're meeting with all of us first, and then we kind of give like, here's what we want to see. And then they'll probably give 1, 2, 3 renderings or something like that. And I don't know how many,
So.
maybe one
what they'll
rendering.
do is they'll meet with all the stakeholders first off. And then they'll put some renderings together. They'll probably put 2 renderings together. And then they'll do a public meeting.
And then those
they'll-
get modified
they'll get
from,
Modified,
Yep,
to be-
I've been to
yeah.
ones, yeah.
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 So essentially we're
It's the same
the
sort of concept.
stakeholders,
Yeah.
so they can at least get the 2 renderings put together.
Right, okay, back to
So-
the list.
I have another, I really highly recommend that the EV chargers be fast chargers. There's no fast charge in this town yet.
Okay.
That'd be a perfect place for fast.
So if
charge.
they do EV chargers,
Sitting there with your
they should
kids,
have
it should
fast
be
charge.
Fast charge.
Can
And
I
then-
ask a couple of questions about this? Again, this is just because I'm coming to this kind of late, but we mentioned the stakeholders, besides the SAB, who are the main stakeholders? I assume that, are there like some HOA or residential communities there for, right next, for, you know, for the housing next to it? Is that one?
And also the apiary, which is in the park now,
The Ridgway Community Apiary, which is the
Uh-huh.
main.
Right, and the community garden.
and the Ridgway Community Garden. Those are the three.
And it's not an HOA over there, but
Okay.
the stakeholders are definitely feel like the neighborhood in River Park that have kids, and I've talked to a lot of them, and they're really would like that zone to be for kids.
So do they have any kind of representation as a stakeholder?
No,
So it's just the apiary, the community garden, and us.
And
And
the town staff.
this town staff, and not the school?
Let's zoom out a little bit here. Actually, I think a good way to answer this is that this is going through this, it's a town property. So every voting member of town is a stakeholder.
Okay,
Right. So this has got to go through the same process that the athletic fields went through. And it's gonna go through that same standard. So right now, technically, even though we're front loading and preparing all of these values that we're stating, everybody else gets to come into the room as well and state their set of values.
With
yeah,
just,
so I guess what I was wondering is who has sort of formal representation in the same sense that the SAB, the apiary, and the community garden do, and it doesn't sound like there's anybody else that has sort of a body or whatever.
you'll
town of Ridgway.
Yeah.
Town of Ridgway.
Neighborhood.
I mean, once it's open up to public comment, pretty much everyone that has an interest has the equal rights to it. Like, we are just providing input of what we'd like to see for the first rendering. And just because it's what we want to see, with community input and stuff, we might end up with something totally different. And, you know, we, as the board, the sustainability board, will probably just try and at least push as hard as we can to make sure that the solar garden and the microgrid
Right.
are input.
And I guess the reason I'm asking these questions is because I'm trying to sort of anticipate what some of the other stakeholders might be interested in, and making sure that as much as possible we can align with them. And one thing that kind of jumped out at me with the electric vehicle chargers is, you know, I'm assuming that most of the people that will use those chargers are in River Park and the community around there, and you know, the business park. And so the question there is, you know, because people coming through town aren't probably gonna see them as easily unless they have a,
Not true, because I
They have a-
travel a lot with my EV and you have to search out the fast charge.
right, so if you
There
have,
will be people traveling using that fast charge.
if you have the plug share or something like that, then yeah, you'll know it. But anyway, I guess my main comment is knowing what the other stakeholders, who they are, might help us somewhat inform our priorities as well. And I know that our priorities are mostly related to sustainability, but if there's alignment, of course, that'll come out in the various stakeholders.
Oh, it'll come out at the public meetings. They will tell you exactly what they want. And so we can't necessarily like build in everything that people are gonna ask for, like that's what those public meetings are for. Like, all we can do is try and focus on like what is important to us, and like make sure these renderings come out in a way that we think it will be appealing to the community.
Well, and then one other comment I have is reading back through the original master plan, I saw that there were some initial renderings from some of the students about what they wanted to see, and it looked like they were very interested in athletic fields, and I don't remember if there was a skate park or
That's on the other piece. of
That's the
property.
athletic park.
That's
different park.
already been done.
oh, okay.
Yeah, that's been done. That's a different park.
We just actually completed a master plan for the athletic park.
Okay, so that,
which
that
includes-
answers that
Yeah,
question.
which
That, since that's been provided in the athletic park, it's not something that there's, the school, for instance, is, and students are still pushing for here because they got that in the
Right.
other. Okay.
Mhm.
Correct. Dave, I just wanted to give you one other bit of context as well. The reason we're all here right now at this point, fleshing these out, is before I left town council, technically I'm still on council, except Josie's name is already there. We had full buy-in, 100% from council to support allocating $25,000 to set the ball rolling for the creation of the master plan for this Green Street Sustainability Park, right? So that's the political context right now. Things could
Okay.
change a little bit. Josie, I don't know her views on this yet. I haven't discussed it. But I do know she was very vocal during the master planning process of the athletic fields. And that is to be determined and see how she supports this or not. But if I was to speak, which I think we are a lobby here, as Sustainability Advisory Board is a lobby. We have a certain set of values, and until other people are in the room, we just don't know what kind of pushback or other things that could come out of the blue of people wanting stuff on town land, and they have every right to propose that. We just have to get our ducks in a row and develop our strong lobby.
Right. So you're leaving the town council. Is Josie the new person that was just elected?
Yes, well, there was no election, but she was the only submission,
Appointed, yeah.
so she assumed my position.
I see. Okay. So does that mean the SAB won't have representation on the council anymore?
No, there will be a new liaison to council.
Okay.
Terry Schuyler we haven't gotten to that point yet. He is staying on council and will likely be that person. But that depends on, there needs to be an open forum call for figuring out whether somebody else like Kevin Grambley or Polly Enoch or Kroger would like to do it.
Okay.
But Terry would be a likely candidate.
Yeah. Okay. That helps the context. Thanks.
I'm sure you have a lot of questions.
Yeah, and I'm sorry if I'm bogging down the meeting with the questions.
Agenda because we will never get through it.
Maybe just listen.
But, we'll try, yeah, bring them up as they come.
Okay.
And we've been in the meeting for 30 minutes and not everybody's really had much of a chance to answer your questions. So I'd love it if we can all have equal floor time.
Do we wanna, Dan,
I
do you
finish
wanna
my
finish?
list and
Yeah.
move on.
Yeah,
I think that the covered pavilion should have solar on it
okay.
and,
Accommodate panels, yeah.
and I already mentioned this to Terry, but it seems to me with that huge parking lot, it should have panels. The parking lot should be paneled, but he said that's down the line. He doesn't want to put that into the community right away because he's afraid it might be too much. But in my opinion, just like in France now, if you have a parking lot, you have to put solar on your parking lot. It's a law. And it seems ridiculous not to do that, but so those are my thoughts.
Okay.
Thank you for.
And Dana, just to stay on it, the first thing you brought up was the interpretive trail.
Yeah,
Do you have any specifics that you would like to see integrated into that? Is that related to
well, I didn't know
pollinator
if it was
gardens?
supposed to be a solar interpretive trail or is it supposed to be a nature interpretive trail? I'm thinking the community should jump in on that. That might make them feel more comfortable with what we want to do.
So we'll have the
Maybe some for
community.
children, since it seems like kids they want it for kids, maybe some kind of kid thing. I don't know. But I mean, it's just a nebulous statement, interpretive trail, but. Anyway, I think the EV chargers is the biggest deal since we don't have fast charge in town anywhere.
Just so you know, there are various organizations that keep approaching town with proposals for independently placed chargers.
Right, but
In
a
town
park
has-
would be perfect, because you could sit there and read a book while it's charging. I've
I'm
learned
not
that.
arguing against you, I'm just saying.
I'm
that-
just, yeah,
That I just. was-
Sorry, we should let Angela talk.
well, I just wanted to finish. You asked me a
I
question.
was trying to get the rest of her details out,
Yeah.
Angela.
Right.
I get it. I'm just trying to have some time to talk to.
All right, go ahead.
I would like to have, some kids focus here. I don't see anything there that really speaks to the kids, and because that's been things I've heard from the community over there, that they're concerned with losing playground space, and I don't think it's playground specific, but, I think the theme sustainability is really, can be far reaching, and there's a lot of opportunity here to have some leave no trace language and something that would be fun for the kids, like here's how you could build a sustainable fort using natural things without destroying, maybe we could have like a little fort that the kids could be in, and inside of there could be something that teaches them how to not rip down branches and, that's promotes sustainability for the kids. I think there could be multiple things like that were fun for the kids, that supported all this stuff. But I think I just would like to see every little topic on there have some kind of kid focus.
Yeah, so like, for example, the informational kiosks could be done in like a interactive, kid-friendly way. So then it's something that they could kind of like touch or play with, but also learn about. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah,
cool, okay.
So interactive.
interactive and leave no trace kind of focused.
That's a great idea.
That's all.
I guess one comment I'd have on both of those, interpretive perimeter trail and the information kiosks. I think those are great ideas. If there's some way to make them dynamic, changing, from time to time to continue to maintain interest and provide new information, that'd be kind of nice.
To that note, I think all of going through this kind of process, unfortunately, terminology gets quantified. So for instance, when sustainability is mentioned 30 times versus 5 times, that ends up being really important in the final decision. So like on that, if you guys can think of language that plays into this, that fleshes these various bullet points out, interactive, dynamic, leave no trace, those are really important things at this stage to really start to corral those and make sure that we have those in front of Super Bloom at the time of stating our vision.
Will those be reflected in the minutes?
So my intention on this-
Together, is that a separate work project?
So my intention on this was to put these notes together and to put the list together and then send it around to all of you. You put your comments on it and we'll get it cleaned up and have it ready to go.
Angela,
And then
before,
anything I missed that we add to.
Okay, good to know.
before we shift out of that, are there bullets, like items on here that have higher value to you
Yeah.
than others?
I'm totally aligned with yours. I do think the pollinating plants and some interpretation of what plants are beneficial to plant in your home area. A little information like how we can focus, not just this, that's like a little bubble of sustainability, but how it like spreads into the neighborhoods type of things. But no, I'm aligned with your solar garden. I mean, that's why we're here, right?
Yeah.
Just have one thing to
Yeah.
add. I don't know how many people I sent it to, but they have playground equipment that's solar active, interactive.
Okay,
Actually, so I would really recommend if we're gonna do the playground, that we really try to do the solar playground. It already exists, playground equipment with solar. It's just, if you could add that,
yeah,
thank you.
yeah.
David, did you have any additional items since you kind of started a little?
No, I don't think so. I have more questions than suggestions at this point, but I agree. I guess I feel like a big part of sustainability is native gardening and water use and stuff like that. So I assume that's part of the evergreen tree visual and sound buffer and the pollinator garden and all that.
So, and just to let you know, The town of Ridgway has started, they will actually be putting together a water conservation kind of plan, if you will, that will be townwide. So anything that is in that park will have to comply with that probably before we even get the water plan out there. So it'll probably be like the
When's that getting put together?
when we have some time.
Are you guys pulling it together?
Yeah, I mean, it's, it's Preston, and were you at that meeting, the water meeting?
Not at the, related to the one on the heels of the meeting that happened in Grand Junction with
Yeah,
Waterwise.
water-wise.
Yeah, I mean, I know,
Yeah, so
Process.
water-wise was kind of the start of that. So there's a commitment to develop some sort of a water conservation plan and start changing out our sprinkling and putting in more zero-scape, zero,
XERI, not zero, yeah.
zero.
A lot of people, zero escape, yeah.
The state does have a template for water conservation.
Yeah.
I'm sure you guys have it already.
Yeah. Yeah,
There is-
At least it's
it's
laid
the
out.
time.
Is that for the town or for residents of the town?
That's for the town.
The town itself, government. conservation.
Well, it will be, I'm sure will be incorporated into, building regulations and
Oh, okay.
and that sort of thing,
Okay.
but we will start that process as an entity.
It's on the heels of a statewide plan, on a water-wise plan. And then John and Preston, were you, somebody else
No, it was,
attended? And
TJ.
And with that, just on the practical side, it was budgeted for 2024 to set that in motion. So basically it'll outline, the council will continue on that, outlining the things that want to be achieved, come up with that plan, and probably going in 2025. That's when it'll get traction going in with code.
There is a big ditch next to the park, back to our park here. There's a big ditch there that's really important to the apiary. I don't think the community garden uses it, but whoever owns that section of the ditch that's on the other side of this park might be someone that we want to talk to, because if we're going to plant big evergreen trees there, those are going to suck up some water. The high school is also a big stakeholder in that water because that's their pump house. The high school owns that pump house there. So they're big stakeholders in terms of the water in this park. So, and the kids are always looking for, the school's always looking for ways to get the kids involved in projects and stuff. So if we can get them as a invested stakeholder, the high school students, then I think we'll get more parents around that. And the water topic's a good one.
Okay. Anything else on your end, Dave? Are you good, David?
Yeah, I'm good. Just a question about that ditch. Is that a drainage ditch or is it a supply ditch?
It's an irrigation ditch. It just feeds off of Dalles Creek, and that's where it's been diverted with irrigation rights.
Okay,
It's a wastewater ditch off of Wolf
Yeah,
Ranch.
I
Oh,
think
it
it's
is?
fallow.
That wastewater,
Yeah.
it's the overflow from their irrigation
Yeah.
water, and that's why
Gotcha.
everything gets
That whole
extra
land
wet both in spring and fall.
Gotcha. Our bees.
So is there runoff water?
I think it runs 24/7.
It does, it's all year
All
round.
year.
It just depends on when they use it as well.
yeah, the reason I wonder is that to your comment about finding out who owns that and works, quite often, or sometimes wastewater ditches also have decrees running off of them as well. So we just need to make sure that, we're
We
not.
call them runoff or irrigation ditches. Wastewater is like
You can file
very
on
specific.
wastewater.
Yeah, for an engineer, that's-
like, you're making me think of like open sewage. It's just giving me crazy. JT,
You're next.
Can I run through these
please.
already? The other, if I was to add in language to the very first bullet point, I'd also have resilience. Because that's certainly, along with the community solar garden and microgrid, with the microgrid, we're also going to build in the resiliency component as well, especially with the supplemental use of power coming in from people that already have grid tie PV systems.
So you're referring to the naming of the park?
Yeah,
Okay,
well, no. In the
No,
first
community
bullet,
solar garden.
community
Oh.
solar garden, microgrid.
And resilient.
With
And
resiliency
resilient. okay.
resiliency in there, because there's going to be a battery component to this as well.
Okay.
which is part of the engineering of it. In terms of the pollinating plants, I'm still gonna try to, I certainly hope that we can integrate some element of agrivoltaic, both for pollinating plants. But also I'm very interested in also demonstrating shade tolerant plants. Because that's what often grows best underneath solar panels. So they have to be either, yeah, a lot of them thrive better if they're shade tolerant. So I'd love to get that language in there. The evergreen tree visual and sound buffer, I'm struggling with I think it's a natural thing to use evergreen trees as a buffer, but a really important component out there especially is that it's a very alkaline soil base. And that's why it's been so hard to grow trees in general in River Park and Parkside. So mandating that we do a soil profile to figure out, because that could be a big price tag in terms of mitigation and improving the soils out there, whether we have to bring soil in. And we want to know that before we even decide on the types of plants that will fit out there. So soil appropriate plantings. And I have talked to Miss Penny, I always forget her last name, the woman from Super Bloom about it as well, and they're attuned to that. Certainly on landscaping and promotes water conservation, xeriscaping, big component, I think is a really important thing because water conservation is one thing, xeriscaping is a whole different technique, not a whole different technique, but very specific and very appropriate for that soil and this climate and this altitude.
Did you have anything on Outdoor Sustainability Education Center?
I leapfrogged over that because that stuff was already.
Okay, just want to make sure you.
Yeah, I would echo Dave and having things be thought of as dynamic as well. And one other thing I would suggest is if we're going to be doing an interpretive trail, I think we are mandated to, but it has to be ADA compliant.
Yeah, that would have,
Right.
that would be kind of what.
I echo Dana on wherever we can put on structures that serve multiple purposes by integrating solar onto gazebos and parking structures, absolutely. The vehicle chargers, as long as they're placed appropriate, and especially with the lighting, one of the big issues on fast chargers has been the way they're being built, and they tend to have a lot of lights that go out into the dark. So we have to make sure that works. We got a lot of complaints.
Got to comply with the dark sky ordinance.
Yeah. And so does everything else within the park. So dark sky component. Not just information kiosks, but also the charging kiosks for kids to be able to go over there and do their work and plug in their devices.
Oh, that's interesting.
So I'll leave it at that.
Okay,
Joyce, do you have anything you want to, you're in charge. You tell me. I was just trying to give you the segue.
Oh, no, I think I already said my stuff in the beginning. Yeah, I mean, I think we want all of this and it's just, it'll be interesting once we get the rendering. But it seems like the big thing is, we want pollinating plants and we want a visual and sound buffer that's completed by landscaping or trees, but as long as the big thing is those trees need to be appropriate for the soil type. And so we'll make a note that likely needs to be done. We can't require them to do that, but we can make a note of that, for when it actually gets built. And I think all of the plants that they select should be, low water consuming plants. That's kind of also the point of sustainability. So, and then I think it sounds like everyone does want to see kind of picnic pavilions or something like that. And then we'll mention it should get evaluated to have solar panels and things like that to kind of optimize the solar capacity of that system. That will likely kind of be something that SMPA evaluates, because I think the way that it's, my understanding is that SMPA has a grant for some of this, and so they would be responsible for the infrastructure itself and the batteries and all of that part. All the other things I think would be maybe collaborated with the town financially, but the solar panels on the pavilion and stuff, that's something that we would bring up with the team, but we'd have to ask SMPA about, because I would assume get ultimate decision, because they're probably the ones in charge of all the panels and tying it into their grid.
I
And then,
think it might be something to consider is maybe just having them solar ready, so that if SMPA cannot do this in the initial round of putting in the microgrid,
that they could do
then
it
they
in the
could do it at
future.
a future time,
Mhm.
or the town could do it at a future time.
Yeah.
Seems like the dark sky community should be a stakeholder in everything we do in
Right.
Ridgway.
I would
should
assume
have
that they would
found-
come to the public and,
Maybe, let me just finish, maybe we should have a kiosk that like talks
Oh, that
about
would be
how we
fun.
promote dark sky.
I like that.
Sustainability in our community, because there's a lot of people who don't know what that, like how that they contribute to that,
yeah,
or how they.
light pollution education.
Yeah,
I think that's really smart. I like that. And luckily Dave's on the board, so he'll also represent dark sky community, or at least be able
He's
to
on the
pass
dark
that.
sky committee.
Yeah, Dave's on every,
Yeah.
he's
I guess the
like
question is, what is David doing?
retired, but definitely not.
Okay.
Cool. And I took notes too, so we can kind of combine.
Yeah. Okay, anything else?
I just have one comment, with the pollinating plants, that's gonna bring a lot of bees into that area.
And we
I don't
have-
know how that would go with kids so much. Maybe they should be more on the perimeter. I'd be careful because, I've planted pollinating plants for my bees. And in the fall, there are just so many bees on those plants. That might be something just to bear in mind where we put those plants, so kids aren't getting stung. That would be horrible.
I can't remember
And
which
that-
project it was that Super Bloom had done, but that was a consideration.
I
It
mean,
was-
they could be there, but just maybe on the perimeter, closer,
Yeah.
on the perimeter trail where all the kids can get stung already.
Well, so I think that's a great thing to kind of bring that up when we meet with them. So we want pollinating plants, but want to make sure they get evaluated with how the kid equipment is. So possibly it's like if they lay it out in a way that maybe pollinating plants are maybe in one small corner
Closer to
And-
these.
closer to the apiary, and then all the kids and interactive stuff is elsewhere, so there's a
Exactly.
separation.
Exactly.
Okay,
That would actually keep the bees from coming into the playground if there's no pollen for them.
all right, so I think I'll work with Deb on the meeting minutes, but I'll just put a summary of what I also think that we're highlighting and how we would want to present, and then send that out to you guys, and then you can give me comments independently. And then ideally we'll be on a similar page when we get to meet with the team.
Yeah, and I can assist with that.
It's
Okay.
fine, but I
Cool.
Stuff.
All right, JT, you're familiar with this. The next item on the agenda is the resolution. Do you want to jump into this?
Sure.
You were kind of leading it.
Sure. Dave, I don't know how much background you've gotten on this, other than from this packet here. quick synopsis is that we presented a letter to the town. Town said thumbs up to move forward to achieve net zero on a faster track. This is the first draft that came back from town. Since then, I've shared it with the folks that we've worked with at Mountain Town 2030, which is an alliance of mountain towns with very similar objectives. And we have the support of the two main people from that organization and all of the other stakeholder communities interested in achieving net zero faster and to influence code and priorities and burn it or basically bake it into everything that the town does. I think our consensus was that this draft did not have the quote unquote teeth that we wanted, especially when things say like if it's not economically viable, when it's economically viable. So right now that draft is still sitting there as is. And in terms of moving forward in timeline right now, I've been somewhat of the driving force on this. I'm actually departing on Wednesday. I'm going to be out of the country for 7 weeks. And I was hoping to use this meeting as an opportunity to circle us on the various comments that people have fed back in with. And I think I can safely say, everybody that's responded has agreed that the suggestions that I shared with everybody from Luke and Chris at Mountain Town 2030 were all essential to the update of this draft going forward. It was unfortunate that this meeting didn't happen the first Wednesday of this month. It was delayed. Otherwise, I would have had Chris and Luke here now. They may have to come in my absence in April to visit with everybody at SAB, or depends on what you guys want to do. If it's not super important that I'm here, I mean, I probably can zoom in on this process so that we can go line by line and come up with a new draft proposal to resubmit back to town, to staff, to author, or we wait until May until I'm back.
Can I comment on that?
Yeah, please.
Okay, so based on kind of the comments that you had provided from Chris and the Mountain Towns and Luke from the Mountain Towns community, and then the examples that they provided, what I got out of that was their recommendation was to go ahead and adopt like a broad spectrum resolution that doesn't necessarily give all the details, and that kind of gets the ball rolling. So then the town's saying, hey, we're committed to this net zero future and we're ready to commit. And it's again broad. And then once that gets passed, then we as a community, as the sustainability board, can then start recommending ordinances or additional resolutions that complement this, that have the actual teeth. So like, my comment was that Crested Butte had put together a great kind of ordinance for future residential infrastructure, whether that's like single family or multifamily, and they have different requirements for what those are, and they were very specific of what they wanted. And that was kind of where you kind of start putting the details of like, every multifamily condo or complex needs to be EV ready and all electric and blah, blah, blah. And, those kind of details. But the first step is to kind of get at least a resolution. So you have the town of Ridgway committed to that goal. That was how I interpreted their comments. And then based on their recommendations and what other entities had done, like Park City and Crested Butte and all of that, that was also kind of what they had also done. So I personally support this resolution moving forward, so we can kind of get the ball rolling.
As is.
I don't agree.
That's fine. That's why we have this on the agenda.
I interpreted it completely differently. I thought they were saying go for some solid, serious stuff right off the bat.
Their
I read.
email specifically,
Especially the one that where all buildings have to be electric,
that was a separate ordinance.
not just the government buildings.
That was a specific residential ordinance.
Off the Crest Butte building code. I think it's the phenomenal. and
This is a resolution for our goal for net zero.
Right.
Yeah.
Right,
So that is, that,
but it
I agree with
encompasses
Joyce
the building.
that, but it doesn't get into the nitty gritty here. This is an overarching thing, and then we
Right.
work on the individual details to achieve that. But right now, we're like 10 years farther out than the state of Colorado is.
It's, yeah,
And so
We are.
we need to adopt something, we need to
Right.
adopt this and then work in this framework. We actually have something
Right.
tangible, and that's where we get into the details, which come later. And that's how government process, town process works, and there'll be amendments to resolution number 23XX
Mm-hmm.
for the next, until we achieve our goal.
it should be yesterday.
So
I think it's not early enough myself. I'd like to see it 5 years earlier at least. That would be my ask. Everything else, I think it's great.
Why don't we go for more than less and see where it goes? You
So,
can always cut things out.
because this goes in front of town council
Right.
and they will, if it's, they have, I guess, the right and the ability to flatly say no, or also to modify any of these things. So right now, the way that it's presented, it is broad and it's most likely going to get town council support the way it is. And that gets us like a foot in the door. Essentially, we're now, at least we can claim that our town's committed to a net zero future. And then, and then you build out like if you like the CB building code and those kind of things, like those are things that we can get integrated, but they fall under a broader resolution.
I hear you. I understand exactly what you're saying.
Okay.
I just think we should jump in with all fours right off the bat because time is of an essence to save this planet, and dragging our knuckles on it and saying, oh, we've already got that ridiculous thing where everything is, we encourage you to do this, we hope you'll do that. I mean, that thing definitely needs to be changed, but I don't see why we couldn't go to net zero by 2030 instead of 2040, because half the people at the state is going to 2030 or instead of
Well,
2040.
I think that, you can ask for that.
Exactly, and they can
Um,
change it, exactly.
And town council will most likely change that. Don't know what it would be to, because they'll look at it as what is more realistic.
Well, what's not
I'm
realistic
just
about
saying, I'm
2030
just
when
saying
half the
you-
state
you
is
as a
30?
board can
That's what I'm
decide
saying, our town is
date
dragging
on
knuckles
there.
when we should be
Just
up
present
to
it.
par
So
with
that
Crest
come-
Butte.
So that conversation will happen in the public forum at a council meeting. Where
Okay,
then,
but
yes,
if we
they-
aren't asking for enough, it's not gonna come up. You guys are like, just kind of like, tippling into town council. Why don't we just bomb into town council and they can always change it, but at least ask for what we should be asked for, which is all buildings should be electric and solar should be on top of them, and it should be 2030. I just don't see why we aren't jumping in completely like Crest Butte did. They got it passed. We have a good, John is on board, I think. I don't
Deb,
understand.
could you scroll down to the bottom?
Sure.
Where
Here,
the dates are, yeah.
Here's one question I have is, before we know what are some of the details and the teeth behind this resolution, and I haven't gone through in detail the ones from Crested Butte and Eagle and Park City and Jackson, but before we sort of know how we're going to achieve this, do we know that we can achieve it? I'm all for putting a 2030 or 2025 if we knew that we could achieve it, if we dived in and do it and did it, but I don't know what is all necessary to be done to be able to make that become net zero.
Well, but you have to kind of aim high rather than like hoping that there's gonna be time to do it, because you can always say, we tried our best, but if you extend something so far out in the future and you know every step that you're gonna make along the way, there's no adventure in that at all. There's no like, hope isn't a plan of action. You gotta like make a plan, be ambitious, do your best to achieve it, and maybe you don't, but to me, if the state's goal is 2040 and we can't be proactive and get ahead of the state's goal, then that's to me a failure. Because this has to happen in local communities from the ground up, and we can't wait for government from the top down to make this happen. So that's.
So could we maybe so my understanding is that council likes to have dates that they think that they'll be able to achieve. And so maybe we could compromise at like 2035, and that they might agree on that, knowing that it seems like 2030, they will probably say no to, but I think 2035, that might feel better
Some
for
of the things
them.
you have to consider as far as what and I'm not a building person, or I'm not in planning, and I don't really know a lot about that, but I do know for as many years as I've been in town government, that there's a lot of things in the background that have to be done. Building codes have to be changed. We haven't even adopted the latest building code yet. We're still trying to get that done.
But they're gonna change, sorry, because of the state of Colorado. I mean, they're gonna change.
Yeah, they're gonna change, yeah.
Even
So
we're
we've
late
gotta
behind
we've
it.
gotta get these things in place to ensure that these dates are met. So there's a lot of things in the background that have to be done for that. So council will consider that as well. And Preston will, I'm sure, chime in on that with the other steps that'll need to take place. But again, I mean, if you guys want to go with a more aggressive date,
It's like,
go for
we're
it.
either like following the state of Colorado and we're waiting for them to tell us what we have to do, or we're proactive and we're a step ahead. And so we have the choice.
Yeah.
And if they can't adopt a goal that is 5 years earlier than the state's goal, then to me, that's like, we're just a boat floating on the river.
Yeah,
I actually think that the 2035 would be more doable than the 2030, but
I think so. Oh, I think Angela was okay if you think 2035 is doable, I think.
why not?
I don't know about that.
2030, and they can change it to 2035. I mean,
Because they might not change it, they might just say
At
no.
Mountain- at Mountain Town 2030, with the first Chris or Luke that stood up said, look, we cannot think the way we think. We have to be as bold as we can be right now. We have to be brave and bold and do things that you don't think can be done. And that's what we are, a lobby. You just said we're a lobbying group. We should be lobbying for as much as we can get. The planet is in trouble, guys. We can't sit here and do this government stuff. Oh, the town council's not gonna like it. Tough bananas.
However, we are a government advisory.
Well, I probably will have to step out
I
and
mean-
be a citizen then
No.
that pushes more.
Well, we, you know,
If
we're
we
com-
can't push from our sustainability committee, who the hell can push?
Well, I'm a,
Isn't
pro-
that what we're here for? To be pushing the town council to do the right thing?
I agree. And I-
Okay,
and I'm a-
well, then
and I'm-
let's try to do it. If they say no, they say no.
And I'm a
Then
proponent
we
of
can-
actually going with 2030. I know we differ
Thank
on that. But I promote that, as an alliance, I think we are, with the other mountain towns as well that have invested in this process. I am a proponent of 2030 in the language. And if council decides
We
that
can get this
if,
done.
if council decides that or believes that that's not viable,
They'll change it.
they'll change it. So I'm,
They'll do.
Right, let's
So
at least go for the gold and let them turn it to silver. I
so
mean, I don't understand our paranoia about the town
I'm
council.
fine with that. Well,
I don't think we have, I
can
don't
vote
think we
on
have,
that and
I don't
come
think
to
we have.
agreement. Yeah.
I mean, I
Sounds
would
like
say,
to me.
I mean, I know that there is support from council on this, but we have to then also, as per Dave's question, we have to explain why we believe that we, and how we're gonna get there, hence the roadmap. But in terms of the language, I'm a big proponent of 2030. And I don't think we're alone in that. And I think we have great support. And that's why I was asking about the
Exactly.
timeline
You've done.
in terms of bringing in the other towns and explaining very clearly to the town council and the rest of the public that that precedent has been set with these other towns and it is doable, both in spirit and practice.
Thank you.
That's,
Okay,
that's my 2 cents.
that's my 2 cents too.
So do you all want to go ahead and just, take a vote on what you would like to do? What's your, you'd all consensus, and then I'll change this and we'll, are there
Well,
other?
there were a
changes
few
to
other
this?
things in that. They don't
Let's see.
mention propane. It just says natural gas. Is propane natural gas?
That falls under that.
I didn't know, because it says no, only no natural gas, and it doesn't say propane. I just don't know if people are gonna go, oh, well, I'll just do propane. I
They
can't.
don't usually put in a separate like propane line.
Okay.
It's
You
usually,
know, I have propane in my
It's
house.
but
restricted.
I
I
mean,
can't get natural gas. So I just.
David, did you have a comment?
Yeah, so I guess the question I have is that there's basically three, I guess what I would call initiatives in this resolution, those three that are listed. Do we have any idea how close, if we did these three things, how close that would get us to net zero? And these are all initiatives that we could do right now. So if we could do these right now, and have them sort of propagate through the building codes and whatnot, maybe we could make it by 2040, or 2030. But I guess I just don't know how close those initiatives get us and what other initiatives we would have to get us to net zero by 2030.
well, we would still have to have this is the infrastructure for sustainable energy. I mean, right now, you know, like this is why we want Green Street Sustainable Park so badly, right? Because I can't remember what Terry had said, but it has the potential to offset quite a bit of the town's power consumption. And so that would be a huge item for us, but even if every house went all electric right now, we wouldn't be able to meet it because we don't have the infrastructure in place to have renewable energy to support that. So there's a couple of things that have to go in there. But I did, as part of this, our team, I think this was before you jumped on, Dave, so I don't think I don't know if you had saw this, but we had provided comments to JT, and like one of the items that I had wanted to mention was likely to have Eco Action, who does a big kind of greenhouse gas emission pie chart breakdown. They've done it for the county.
They did it for us too.
I wanted to kind of get the breakdown of Ridgway specifically, just the town of Ridgway. And so that way, if we have that information and we say, okay, 89% of our power consumption comes from residential, then it makes sense that we would focus on that, right? And there could be some other, you know, whatever, number 2 and 3, maybe there's low hanging fruit in there that we can kind of cut emissions that way, but that all has to get evaluated. And we just don't have that information right now. But it sounds like, Deb, we have that available to us.
Yeah, we keep, I provide actually Eco Action with all of our electricity use, and
Cool.
we have for years.
So we can get it just
We
for
have that
Ridgway.
Information, and they,
I can reach back.
since like 2000.
I can
Would we
reach
be
back.
able, so would we, since they have that information, could we ask Eco Action specifically to build that out for us?
I'm sure.
Or would town?
I
we
think
just-
they already have that
Yeah,
information.
sorry,
available.
so we can-
It's
yeah.
Very easy to get, so
Awesome.
that would be a problem.
I'll reach back out to Terry too. This is, I mean, and very specifically, I mean, San Miguel Power, if everybody wanted in town would sign up for the Totally Green program, right? And then theoretically, everybody that is grid tied would get energy from renewables.
Yeah.
Right, for their entire, so they have the number on that, on what it would take to get us there. Add in the other part of this algorithm, and that's the microgrid. And depending on the capacity of the kilowatts, that would get us to another level as well. One of the things that has us hamstrung in this whole process, which every community deals with, is the contract between our community cooperative, our power cooperative, and Tri-State, who only allows up to a certain percentage of the energy just to come from renewables. However, Terry and I've talked about this quite a bit. The harder we drive to get to total renewables, the more leverage we have going to Tri-State and the cooperative on our behalf as a demand driven economic tool, just as what happened with Excel. A lot of their changes to invest in renewables came from the pressures by the consumers. And so right now, as we leverage the microgrid and work towards building codes to offset this, to your point, Dave, some of those numbers are out there, and I'm not the one with the recall. Terry's the one with the number recall.
Yeah.
And if you were here, I'm sure he would make you go cross-eyed with an answer, but accurately.
Could I ask Jill? You said that we don't have the infrastructure. What does that mean?
Just right now that there's not enough renewable energy available in Ridgway to support the entire town.
Okay.
So you would, if you're pulling just regular electric power, you're still burning fossil fuels to get it. So it's not clean, like there's two parts to get us to, like ideally, I would love for us to be net zero because we have renewable energy, not because we're just like buying carbon credits.
Oh, I see.
Personally.
Exactly.
Yep.
Right.
So I guess that what I'm a little bit confused about is that I'm not sure how we're defining net zero. Are we basically saying that we will measure our total energy consumption as a town, residential and business, and you know, that includes gas and electricity and whatever, wind or whatever, and then we will you know, see what that is and subtract that from what we are producing as a town that's renewable? I mean, I'm not sure how we evaluate net zero and how the initiatives that we're putting in this resolution support that, or how far that supports that.
What are
And
other?
I apologize because I don't have all the background, but I'm
Well, Cresta Butte requires every single new development to have only electric, and our little document here is only requiring people that get a financial investment from the town of Ridgway have to be all electric. So
Right.
there's one big gap right there, but like Joyce said, just starting, I mean, to me, that's giving the town something.
So if the town were, if somehow we could snap our fingers and the town was magically all electric, does that mean we're net zero?
No.
No, because
Not now.
as
because
I said about being hamstrung by Tri-State, ultimately, not all the power that's coming through the grid is coming from renewables.
Right. So
but-
that's my point, that to be net zero, we have to be generating through solar or wind or whatever, as much power or as much energy as we're consuming through electricity and presumably gas, because there's still going to be gas being used, by 2030 and 2035.
Right.
And all of those sectors have to be then dealt with, one at a time within our code, within our planning, within all of the elements of the town, so that the objective of committing towards a more accelerated path to net zero should impact directly every single decision made in the planning and development process in this community.
Right, so that's kind of exactly my point, that here are 3 initiatives that we have in this resolution, but it'd be nice to have some sort of a, if we're not gonna list every single initiative, which we can't because we don't know what all the initiatives are, it might be nice to have some general language about, and other initiatives as, that we come up with or deemed
Right.
appropriate through this period of time, or what, I don't know, whatever.
Or
So
in the
Dave, the
future.
goal that we were talking about earlier was that we were debating is to get something broad like this approved now, just
Right.
so we have a goal and a target and a commitment, and that then we would come back with much more aggressive ordinances that support this, that would fall under this. And that is where, like Dana really wants the all electric in all new buildings, things like that, like really specific details would come in a separate document that would fall under this.
And I
Versus
agree.
trying to get one ordinance right now that has everything presented in front of council, because that's really difficult and would take quite a bit of time to do. So this gets the ball rolling.
Right, and I think I totally agree with that, and I think I totally agree with having a more aggressive date. I guess what I'm saying is that if I look at these 3 initiatives that are in here, they look fairly specific, but I don't think they're gonna get us there to
Yeah,
net
right.
zero. So why not
Not.
add a general something in addition to these initiatives, all other initiatives that we figure out over the next 10 years or whatever.
I think number 1 does that, though. I think the town hereby updates its greenhouse gas emissions goals to reach net zero greenhouse emissions by 2030. I mean, I think that there addresses what your uncertainty is, and it doesn't have to be defined it doesn't have the objectives to reach the goal. This isn't where that goes. And to me, that's like, yep, we're setting that as our goal. And now we're gonna get to work and roll up our sleeves.
Exactly.
It's gonna force the question, first and foremost, about the electric ready versus mandatory electric, right?
Right.
Going forward with what we have coming down the pike in terms of development. So it forces the council, it forces planning to say, okay, then 2040 is abstract. 2030, wow. Then we must have to consider a hard decision. Are we gonna mandate electric ready or full electric out the gate right now? And we still have big differences even between the 2 most vocal opponents on that are Dave Jones, who's part of this, and Terry Schuyler, who is who's propagated this whole project
Genius.
on the sustainability part with the microgrid. So if we simply just leverage this to 2030 and council says, okay, and now what? It'll immediately beg that question. How are we gonna deal with this with every project coming in the door right now? As multifamily, residential and commercial. And we know from other comps that the no natural gas part has backfired in the commercial world. But it really is up to the town and the stakeholders of all the town to fight and negotiate whether or not natural gas will be excluded. But we certainly, I think, as part of the philosophy of this board is understanding that eliminating natural gas, which is only 20% efficient versus say induction ranges, which are 80 to 90%, running on electricity. If they're getting it from renewables, then we're making another dent, a significant dent in the net zero path. I think is the best way to say it, our objectives. So I think at this point, we're basically at a point where we just want this to go back to staff with some updated language.
I was actually gonna ask if we were at the point that if we change 2040 to 2030, are we as a board on board with moving this forward?
Yes.
Cause I am,
All right.
Okay,
We take a vote.
yeah.
Yeah.
So you can live with that language?
Start there.
Just wanna be a team player. If that one date is what gets everyone to vote, like, I'm on board. I think we all know that council may change that and we're okay with that. But yeah, I mean, I
Let's stay
think
positive.
the goal is to get something moved forward, and I would love to not talk about this 5 more times.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just so you know, the reason I asked you that question is because you come to this with an engineering mindset. And I know you have reservations about what's achievable and what's not. And I think we all do.
I come from a different side, because yes, I'm all like thinking about all the steps that have to happen, and it seems unlikely that it will actually get met, but I also recognize that, say, Angela's coming from a climate change background where the idea is to push aggressively and aim high, and if you fall short, at least you're pushing hard for it. So, and that's the direction that this team wants to go, and that is fine. Like, I'm not, you know, because it makes me nervous, that's fine, but ultimately, we're on the same page. Like, we really just want to do what's best for the town, so I'm comfortable with making that change, presenting it to council, and trying to get a resolution passed. That's my ultimate goal.
Best for future generations is what we are really, this is all about.
The whole point of this. was-
Yeah, and I want to keep skiing, so.
Yeah.
Okay, Dave has a comment?
Yeah, so I am on board with that. I'm just thinking what might help council feel better about approving this, and that's where I keep returning to. If they look at this by 2030 and they see these, as you point out, basically 2 initiatives, maybe some sort of wording that says, instead of and 2 and 3, something like beginning with or including but not limited to, or
In addition
Right.
to, in
in
addition.
addition,
to
something
the
like
above.
that.
Right,
Yeah,
good
that makes
thinking. That's awesome. So it opens the door for,
Right.
More.
It seems like that's what we're trying to get to happen here, is to get the door open. And then down the road, we'll add other stuff in the form of ordinances or whatever. But
yes,
the key is to get this resolution passed. And if we put 2030 in there, and they look at these 2 things and say, well, that's not going to get us there by 2030. But if we say, with these 2 things and more, or whatever. That's
These
just,
are, the things like this are worded in a very weird way. It's like, that's like
Yeah.
government language that I think everybody is.
This was drafted by our town manager,
So
who like,
my thought on this is that I'm gonna bring this suggestion back to Preston and let him word it in the way that
he
a
feels good about.
government entity will word things
Yes.
like this, and then send this out to you guys before we ever send it into council, so you can see the wording.
Need a motion?
See if you have any questions. Yes. We don't really need a motion, but let's do a motion.
I'll make a
Let's do it.
motion that we change the date for our net zero greenhouse gas emissions to 2030.
Seconded.
Okay, and we also want to add additional language stating that in addition to the above initiatives, I don't know the wording that we're going to use, but
future initiatives to come, something.
And not limited to.
I know what you're after. I just don't know how to say it.
Yeah.
Dave,
To
gotta
your
say-
point, Preston might.
Yeah,
How to word it.
he'll go, oh.
Yeah.
So I know what you're saying. You want to make sure that they understand that there will be things following this that will get us to that. So the SAV board will be a lot on their plate to figure out what that's gonna be.
More to come.
As,
Yeah.
as this goes forward to Preston with the change of the date and
Uh-huh.
language, can you also make sure that he sees what I shared with you from Mountain Town 2030 and
Oh,
those
absolutely.
other comp towns?
Yeah, I will, absolutely. I've been keeping him informed on everything. I've relayed that to him.
Mhm.
But I can share those emails. Yeah, whatever.
Could I ask just one question? I know
So,
you guys can.
Okay, are we done with the motion now?
Nope. Oh, I'm sorry.
You have to vote.
We need to
We have to
vote.
vote,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, so, all those in favor, I'm gonna get a verbal, please. Dave,
Yes.
Dana,
Yes.
Yes.
Angela, JT,
Yes, yes.
yes, and
Yes.
Joyce. Okay. I have, so the motion is passed unanimously with those here.
Good.
I have not heard from Dave. Has anybody heard any comments from Dave
No.
at all?
Other than-
Dave Jones, I'm sorry.
Dave Jones, he hasn't responded to my last emails either,
Okay.
so I think he's at the Milford, he's doing like the Milford track
Okay,
right now.
honestly, I think he's gonna be on board with this.
Yeah.
And I think Ken will be as well. I just want.
What do we need to approve? Was five is it would pass either way.
Three board members.
Three.
Support.
now?
Yeah.
You don't need a majority?
Three is a
Okay.
quorum. This is not a council.
Oh, God.
This is a town board, so we
Got
really
it.
don't even need to make the motion.
Could I
Okay.
ask a question on that?
Yes.
What happens with this ordinance now?
So what will happen is I'll get the wording changed, get this out to you guys to just give your thumbs up to, and then Preston will put it on the next council meeting.
So is that an open council meeting where?
All meetings, all
Public
council meetings
comes
are open.
to it so that people can comment on
All
this
council
resolution that's
meetings are
coming
open, yes,
forward?
absolutely.
Oh, that's awesome. And then.
I do not know if it will be on the one on, let's see, what is our dates here?
It's March. So the earliest one it would get in is
Would
April.
be April 10th. So that's most likely when it will be on the council agenda.
And Luke and Chris would come for this?
I can follow up with them to tell them that we push this forward to change the dates and the language on that. That's what they've been waiting for, like otherwise they would have already been here. I can find out whether they can come and visit with SAB
Or
in
speak
the
in
April
front of the
meeting.
town council.
That would be the way, let me, yeah, I'm thinking of that too, but I
Okay.
can't talk when you can talk over me. So yes, I'll let them know that 2030 has been put into the language. It's gonna be redrafted. We'll see the draft. We still will have an opportunity for thumbs up, thumbs down, and comments if you have anything else you want to add to it. And hopefully by the April meeting of town council, it can go in front of council. I won't be here. I imagine I would hope SAB would,
Will you let us know if it makes it onto the
Absolutely.
April 10th
I'll
agenda? If-
know, as soon as I speak with him.
Yeah.
I guess we'll cross one bridge at a time right now.
Okay.
We'll get this draft back, see how we all feel about it, see if there's any other comments we want to make on it, and then figure out a salvo going forward to pitch our reasoning and rationale behind this aggressive approach. And I think at that time, then it's right to have the alliance of the Mountain Town 2030 represented by Chris and Luke to come before council to explain to them that this is not just pie in the sky and we're a one-off community, that this is what communities across the West have been doing aggressively and achieving.
Yeah.
So,
I think
And
that's good.
So if they're available, is what the team envisioning is that Chris and Luke would present to council or?
in alliance with representatives
Oh, I
of SAB.
think SB should be there. Someone from the SAB should be there.
should present in
This
addition
is,
to Chris and
but
Luke,
after
right?
this, right? Well, what I heard JT say is like, this we're proposing, town council can discuss it.
There's gonna be
If they
questions.
adopt it, then
Then we,
bring
okay,
in.
Okay.
then we bring, it,
downtown
okay.
30/30.
I was hearing that they were gonna come to present this at council.
No,
I
Okay,
would
so one of
suggest-
our board members will do
I
it.
would suggest that somebody from this board be at the meeting on the tenth for questions from council.
Questions for council.
On April tenth.
Yeah.
Is it
On
in
April
here?
tenth.
I'm not gonna be here. I'm out of the country.
Is it in here?
Yes. So
Joyce, will you be here?
I'm just checking my calendar.
I think
right
David
now.
will be
I
back
can-
and David, I know you're,
Yeah, I'll be on the tenth. I'll be here.
okay.
Dana and Joyce
I'll be here.
represent.
Uh,
I won't be here on the tenth.
You won't be here, okay.
I will.
Deb, what do you anticipate for turnaround time for us to see an updated draft?
We need
I will,
Terry.
Terry should be
We
there.
need Terry for sure.
Well, he's
Terry's-
council member.
Oh, that's right.
no, we can't really have Terry.
So many hats, that guy.
Terry, can you present for us, Terry?
Yeah, present and then get back behind your seat.
That's fine, right?
No matter what, we're all gonna have to powwow once we get this draft returned to us.
Before
And
the
with that,
10th.
then we can outline the
Yes.
primary points of, the bullet points of rationale and reasoning. And make sure that whoever represents us articulates all of those points to council.
So. I
Danny,
will
you
try to
can't
get
yell at
this-
town council if you.
I always yell.
Can't yell us that.
I even use the F word.
I know, I've been wondering if you've been
Hey,
okay.
I've gotten things done, just.
So to answer your question, JT, I will probably, today is
Monday.
I will try to get this out to him in the next couple of days, and I don't know how long it'll take him to, but it shouldn't take him too long to make him work that kind of stuff out. And I'll get it out to you as quick as possible.
Thank you.
Yeah, so if he can have it, then it shouldn't be a problem getting it on the agenda unless something.
When does the agenda get finalized? Sometimes
But
last
it's
minute.
closer when it's actually, no, it's usually finalized, the Friday before the
Okay.
meeting.
Okay. So as long as we,
We've got time,
yeah,
we've got some time. I mean. we've
as
got
long
a
as
week,
we're all
right?
on the same page by the end of this month, I can pee. on the
Yeah,
council.
we got, yeah, we got 2 weeks.
Great.
So,
One
what's that?
tiny little comment, Deb, and point number 3 on the third line, there's a typo. Preferred to be achieve, should be
achieved.
achieved. Yes,
I will correct that. Found another error on something that was related to the SAB. Oh, I know what it was the other day. That it said there will be no more than or no less than 30 members on the.
Oh my God, please, you
Instead
are
of 3.
killing each other. We're at 30.
Okay,
No,
thanks
that's-
for bringing that to my attention. I'll get that corrected as well.
5 hours.
Okay,
Great.
so I think we're done with that discussion. Are you?
Woohoo!
So just live here.
Moving on.
Nice work.
Great, that's.
Okay.
Nice work, guys.
Guys, now we have like some quick, easy.
These are quick
things.
easies, yeah.
Good.
Okay, can I take this one?
Yes.
So we've talked about changing the terms of this board several times, and we kind of gone back and forth, back and forth. And I took a peek at our this is where I found the error, at our Sustainability Advisory Authority and Procedures, and was looking under membership and terms. And anyway, it says not less than 3, and then in parentheses, it says 30 members.
So
Not more than 7 members. One member shall be an ex officio, so the council liaison. So the terms stand right now as 3 years. So the 3 years is not up until August of 2025.
Okay.
Okay, so we're really not in any hurry to do that, but my suggestion is if we're going to ask to increase the number of board members to 8, which is what we discussed the last meeting,
Mhm.
that we want to bring both items to council at the same time. Just because then we don't have to go back and change something next year.
Mhm.
So I did a really quick little thing just threw this together to see if you all were in agreement with this. So can you all read that? And I can edit this however you want, but this was kind of just a, an
Not seeing it.
idea.
Is it on the screen?
It is, you can't see it?
No, I'm still
Okay,
just seeing the,
let me do a stop share and then I'll share. It might be because of the way here it is. How about now, Dave?
yeah, now I see it.
Okay, this is just something I put together. So the Sustainability Advisory Board would like to request that the town revise the current, this would be what I would give to Preston. SAB authority and procedures, membership and terms. In August 2025, board members' terms will end. The 7th is the town council liaison, so that really doesn't apply because their terms end when they're no longer on council or they get reappointed. The SAB would like the terms to stagger moving forward. We are requesting that in August, the terms for 3 members are changed to 2 years, ending in August 2027. The remaining 3 members will end in August 2028, which is where they would normally end. So thereafter, all members' terms are for 3 years.
So,
Does that make sense?
yeah, so here's what I was thinking was that because that's more like a renewal, that if we wait till August, all 6 of our board members will still end. So I was wondering if, this is open for discussion, just a thought was that if we present that 3 of our board members, maybe the end in 2025 and the other 3 board members end in 2026. And then only 3 seats open up in 2025.
However you all want to do it. I just,
Is that we're requesting the terms for 3, I would think 3 new members or re-elected members would clarify that. The way
Right.
To me, right now, it looks like it's all about us.
because it would have to be whoever's coming on.
That's right.
Yeah,
And everybody would be open for re-election for a second term.
right, or however many terms
Right.
they.
So I think you need to clarify the language, like 3 new or re-elected members, so that's a little bit more clear.
Okay, so.
But then won't everyone still, all their seats go up in 2025?
Yes. Which is how it stands, how it was written and.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we wouldn't start staggering until then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I was wondering if we extended 3 team members to a 4-year term, then in 2025, only 3 seats need to either get refilled or the members stay. And then in 26, the 3 members that have 4-year terms will then either be reelected or 3 new members. So then it's staggered starting in 2025.
Yeah, whatever you guys want to do. I mean, I'm fine with that. I just.
That
And
makes a
then,
little
and then
more
they would,
sense.
and then it would stick to the 3 years after that, but
And
then,
that has
yeah.
guaranteed continuity
Yeah.
of
yeah,
the old board, which is important.
yeah. So I don't know if that would, you know, and then
I like
we can
that.
just decide who has the 4-year terms
Yeah.
and who has 3-year terms
Yeah.
later, but.
And then the other part of this was what else? I'd like to add 1 additional board member. For
Yep.
total 7 members and 1 council liaison. So I can draft that up and do that. And then I'm not sure if we'll get this on the next agenda or one after, depending on.
Are you gonna become a member?
Yes, this is why we're doing it, so we can keep JT.
Yeah.
I think and that's
So
great.
you're
I
the
think JT's
person.
awesome, but it's not clear, like, because you're not on town council anymore. You were appointed. You weren't like we were.
So as
So,
of,
let me finish.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, I totally support of you being here, but I think we need clarity moving forward when we have a town council member that steps off of town council. What's the process here? Do they need to be, should JT be elected by town council? Because now he's just like us. right? But he wasn't.
He'll still
totally-
have to get elected.
He'll
Like,
still-
he'll still have to get
He'll
elected.
still have to go through, council's still gonna have to appoint him.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he'll
just
still have
like
to go through
those-
the same process.
So actually,
That's-
as of,
That's clear to everybody, but,
Yeah.
okay.
so the
great.
next
Great.
meeting,
Sorry.
actually,
Got it.
Got it.
until that happens, JT will not have any, be able to vote at the next meeting.
Got it.
Yeah.
Great.
And he's out of town. He
Is
was-
it the next meeting?
Yeah.
No, because it'd be the 10th, I think, when the new,
Josie
10th.
sworn in May.
yeah. She gets sworn in on the 10th.
Although Pam already.
Yeah, as soon as we got we just,
And
yeah.
then did you all talk about like
So-
that we have the SAB recommends to appoint JT? Because we should have a recommendation.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that Terry will be the council liaison at that point, and there will be a recommendation. It will be open to anybody to apply, just as it would for any member coming on.
Yeah.
But, you know, we would make sure that Terry requests or recommends that JT.
But
And that's-
not necessarily from our council.
But I'm under the impression
No,
that
from the SAB.
we could still come as like
Absolutely.
the public and
Absolutely.
say, you know, we as members of the SAB have worked with JT and would
Gotcha.
support
Yeah.
JT
Yeah.
being our new member if there were like 4 other people that wanted
Yeah.
to join.
Good to know.
We could cast a vote, right?
Yeah.
Or not a vote, but at least state
Your support.
our support.
Yeah.
Um,
So it would have to go
About
through the same
the-
process that that Dave just went through.
Yeah,
right.
Well, someone from the youth council, are we gonna get someone there?
So I talked with Preston about that, and he has invited anyone from the youth council to join us. As far as adding another member, he said that it was like pulling teeth trying to get the kids to come to even do this. This is the second, last year we couldn't even get any kids. This year we've got some. So we just, yeah.
Did
They're
they have to
busy.
be high school?
Well, yeah, I mean,
Okay.
that's the,
I
yeah,
just
yeah.
was gonna.
So,
find
so it really, you know, they've been invited, they know when they are. I actually sent out agendas to Riley, because I know Riley. And she sent me a smiley face like, no. It's like, no, thanks. I got too much to do now. So, yeah, I don't know, unless we get a really strong youth advisory board.
Yeah.
And so what we have, Dave, is we have a youth advisory board that consists of our high school students, and they hold meetings just like a town council would. And they, you know, have some things on their agenda, and they're working on different things, what they'd like to see in the town. And they bring those ideas to council at times, so. But we have had a hard time getting participants over the last few years, so. Okay, so as far as the terms go, is everyone in favor with Joyce's suggestion about the years? Okay, we're good with that. And is everybody in agreement with Dave, are you good with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Dave's term's gonna be.
No,
3
Dave,
From now,
Dave
right?
his term ends at the same time because he took over Joyce's position. So the way,
not me.
I'm sorry, took over
Vicky's
Vicky's position. I'm sorry. Sorry, Joyce.
No, you're fine. I'm like, I'm leaving, sorry. I'm out of here.
So the way it reads is, in the event of a vacancy should occur during the term of any member, their successor shall be appointed in the same manner for the unexpired portion of the vacant
Okay.
term. So 2025 is when it's August of 2025. So this would get everybody kind of on a staggered.
Yeah.
Term, so we don't have everybody at the same time.
Yeah.
These
Okay,
are institutional
And-
insanity. I mean,
and then we're all good with the adding one additional board member.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Gonna be Jake.
So I'll rewrite this
well, most likely.
and then I'll give this to Preston and he'll do what he does. And we'll decide when that's gonna go on to council.
We picked Terry. For our next town council.
Actually, that's a council
That's
decision,
David.
but the chances are like really high that he will be appointed as the liaison for the SAU. I mean, you know,
He's already been like
I know.
Yeah,
He's here all the
one,
time
so,
anyway.
yeah,
It's been a huge.
I'm sure he will.
yeah, he's totally into it. I had an email, talked to him about it this afternoon, so. Okay, I'm gonna go back to I'm gonna unshare this. And then, go back to the
And-
agenda.
So if this if this one doesn't make it to like the May agenda or whatnot for council,
We're gonna add,
it's still open to the public, so JT could still, you know, if it gets pushed onto the next one.
Yes.
Hopefully you'll still. come
so what
for-
would happen is we would get the advertisement out like.
When you're in
we
town.
have to do.
Yeah.
And get that going right away. We have that already pretty much as a template, so we get that out. And then as soon as that comes, put the deadline in and then go from there. So you'll have access to emails.
Yeah.
Okay, so that you can present your letter or whatever you need to present to.
Yeah, I'll be, these first few weeks when I'm gone, I'm gonna be super busy and
Yeah.
I'll try to zoom in for this next meeting.
Yeah,
But
Yeah.
not sure.
okay. I mean, if you'd rather put that on the following meeting, we can do that. Council meeting, the June meeting, or is that gonna be any better for you?
I'm just trying to look at my dates here, sorry.
Oh, that's the next thing.
So next Sustainability Advisory Board meeting is April 3rd, correct?
No, that would be April 10th.
Oh.
It's the second Wednesday of the month.
She's talking
No.
about council, to present you
I
to
said
council.
SAB.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The
Yes.
next SAB meeting is the 3rd.
It's the 3rd, yes.
You're gone for that one.
I'm not home until May 7th or 8th. I can't guarantee whether I'm gonna be able to chime in until
That's okay. That one, I don't know. what
either.
we've got on.
So I would prefer something in May and then I know I'll be accessible and I will likely be able to. attend.
When's the May town council meeting?
May
Eighth?
town council meeting is the 8th.
And you think you can make that? Or?
You don't
Or
have to be
see-
here in person. You can zoom in on that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll make sure that I'm present,
Do you,
virtually or otherwise.
Yeah.
well, it's just more of like, if this gets written, we're all kind of giving a thumbs up, so would you rather it be on we ask for this on the May agenda or the June agenda? What's your preference?
June would be easier,
June.
because I know I'm here.
Okay, I'm
Can we
gonna,
put this on the June?
I'm sure
council
that's
agenda?
not gonna be a problem.
Thanks.
Okay, all right, Joyce, next.
Next.
We're voting on a logo, guys. So there was all of the various options, and I guess this version got the most votes. There were some small modifications to it.
Yeah, so, the original, the last rendering was to have it all in this block lettering. And then did I ask them to do?
I think you went with this one.
No,
the one
well,
with the
this is
white-
one that, okay, well, so we have two that we could do. One of these two we gotta pick because I can't do this anymore. To be honest with you, I'm like, don't wanna do this anymore.
So the other one, just
the other
the
one?
text
Let me
is
show you
slightly.
the other one. The difference is the advisory board has got the white highlight around it. Dave, can you see this?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay. So there's this one. And then where'd that other one go?
Uh-oh.
So let me just show you that difference again. Too many things here. Okay, so this one is the one that we just looked at. Stop it. Okay, so if you look, this has got the white highlighting around it, and this has the white highlighting around it. For me, it's a little hard for me to read. I don't know if it's just because of my eyes. But the other one is
I think you.
right here. This one does not have the white around the advisory board. So I just need you guys to pay,
I like this
I like
one, but
this.
why couldn't it be green since we're
because we don't have, it's not our branding colors. So,
Sustainability be green?
so we have
I'm
certain
fine.
colors that we can use for our branding, and we don't, if we go with a whole different thing, we're gonna have the cost of that.
You can't just color in sustainability with green.
Kristen wants this to be our
Impressive.
branding numbers, our branding
Okay.
logo.
That's good.
So it's our town logo, as you see on everything else that we have, is, looks like that.
Oh,
So I just pulled out the colors, and we can't have it the same as this, we have to use something else. So, this is the one that was picked. So that's the one so we have, like I said, for me, I don't know, I have a hard time with the,
I agree.
with the advisory board being two colors, because I can't read it.
this looks better.
See how
The
it's,
smaller font, the drop shadows make it look blurry.
it just kind of, to me, looks a little hard to read. And as something that's gonna go on our website and any of our flyers or anything like that, I personally, but you know, you guys, it's your call. It's
I
not
make a
mine.
motion. Joyce, hurry up.
Dave, are you still there?
I am, and I'm not seeing what you have up on screen, but I'm looking at the agenda and the version in the agenda.
Okay,
And I guess my comment is, I think that's clean and simple. And Ridgway is already embossed. I think that's the term they used for that font. And so I don't think we need to emboss the advisory board.
yeah, okay. So let me go back to this. I'm sorry, I didn't get you on the screen there. Okay. Okay. All right, so this is what was, this is. what
Great.
they're-
I love
Are
it.
we all good with that?
Yeah.
Okay, so all in favor, please say aye.
Hi.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Dan.
Thanks, Deb.
Okay.
It's like, this needs to be done.
I'm just like,
Can you get a little bit more detail into
oh, gee.
courthouse?
Yeah, I'd like to.
All right, so what's next is the, I'm sorry, Joyce.
No,
Sorry.
go,
So sorry.
go for it.
It's the approval of the minutes. Because we didn't have a quorum on the last couple of meetings, I had to not get the minutes approved. So we had the minutes of the December 12th, 2023 meeting, the minutes of the January 3rd, 2024, and the minutes of the February 7th. So did everybody get a chance to look at these?
They look great.
Do I hear
There wasn't, the last minute wasn't on there, was it?
January? February,
Wednesday.
there was 3 of them.
Oh, there's 3. Okay.
Yeah,
January, February.
December, January, and February.
Yep.
So, I just need, I need a motion from someone.
I'd like to make an omnibus motion to approve 3 minutes of months, all in one
Fell swoop.
fell swoop.
Consent agenda.
Yes.
I will second, that way I get on the minutes of the.
Actually, Dave, I'm sorry you can't, because you weren't here for any of those meetings.
Oh, okay.
It has to be someone who is here.
Darn it.
Your
Darn
name will be in the meeting.
second.
Okay. Next time you can do that.
All right.
All right, Joy, does anybody have anything else?
No.
Not a enchilada.
I
Yeah.
have I just have one
Either-
minor thing.
We'll have a quorum.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just gonna say, since there is already a Dave on this board, we have the problem, I live in a community with 3 Daves, and we're always getting us confused, and so I would be happy to formally be known as David.
Okay, I was gonna ask you
Great.
that.
Yeah.
I have you on the agenda as David, and I have Dave Jones as Dave, so I'm gonna, we're gonna go David. You guys good?
Feel great about
If
that.
you meet me on the street, you can call me either one, but for purposes of these meetings, I'll be David.
Okay. All right.
Great.
Where do you live?
In River Sage.
Oh, okay.
And since everybody gets my initials as JT wrong, I would like to go by David myself as well.
I can change my
Yep.
name.
You'll have to go as Davy.
Davey.
I think you'll stick with JT. All right, Joyce, you wanna close this one out?
Close out the Sustainability Advisory Board meeting. It is 6:54 PM.
Adjourn at
Adjourned at-
6:54.
Yeah.
Okay, we did it before 7 o'clock.
And we got
all the items.
We got
Yeah.
stuff done.
So, Angela, you were making a comment about the next meeting.
I won't be here in April and I. won't
Okay,
be
so the
on Zoom.
3rd, you won't be here? Okay. I have not even looked at the agenda to see what we're gonna be doing, so, I am thinking it might be a little light one. I'll have to look at items that we have not, that I put on the still to-do list. So we'll see what that consists of, because we've had items that we've had to just push aside, so I have a nice hefty list of that stuff. So,
I think to be conservative, I'll say I will not be here. on
okay,
the 23rd.
all right, so,
Or Zooming in.
I will be out of town, but I'll plan to zoom in.
okay.
Are the meetings always, or generally, is the nominal meeting time the first Monday of each month at 5
No.
o'clock?
Yes,
Not the first Monday, the first Wednesday of
I mean,
each month.
first Wednesday, yeah.
Yes, of each month at 5 o'clock. That's what our board is set up to do.
Okay.
And we change those if there's a problem, and Preston, if I'm out of town and I can't run the meeting, I'll ask Preston, and so if we both can't do it, then sometimes we'll have to change the meeting, unfortunately.
I got two emails, I think, back to back from Preston a week or so ago with meeting times into the future. So I guess those are incorrect.
You know how many meetings he attends, so typically he'll set those up. Sometimes I'll set them up, but it'll always say Preston. But sometimes we log in under the same Zoom, so when you see his name doesn't necessarily mean it's coming from him, it's coming from me.
Okay.
So our next meeting is I'll check the Zoom meetings and see what he's got on there, but it should be the 3rd of April is our next one. And
Yeah,
then
he had,
first-
what I got from him was 3rd of April, but at 11 AM, so,
oh, no, it's always 5 o'clock.
okay,
I'll fix that and I'll resend it out to everybody.
okay, great.
Yeah, just make that I will get that down. Let me just make a change Zoom.
I guess we could.
Okay, all right.
there's that potential, yeah.
I am going to stop the recording. Thank you all. Dave, great to have you on board.
Yeah, it's fun to be here, thanks.
Thanks, Dave.
Thanks,
David.
Dave. Thanks, David.
And
David. you're
I'll look
right.
forward to meeting you all in person in a couple of months.